Hi, Scary Recaps here. Today, I'm going to explain the movie Last Night in Soho from 2021. Beware of spoilers. Ellie Turner is obsessed, in a good way, with the swing 60s. She happily dances in her house, and when she enters her room, she sees her deceased mother in the mirror, smiling at her. Soon, Ellie receives a letter that makes her even happier as she is about to leave for London the following day. Her grandmother helps her pack her things and warns her that with her gift, she might be overwhelmed by London. Ellie reassures her that everything is going to be alright, but lies about seeing her mother's spirit. The next day, Ellie says farewell to her grandmother and leaves for London, where she is to study to become a fashion designer. On her way to Charlotte Street, the taxi driver hits on her, and Ellie decides to stop at a convenience store to avoid him. At the students' halls of residence, Ellie meets Jocasta, her roommate. The two of them acquaint themselves, talking about their families and the places they grew up. Ellie never met her father, and her mother died when she was 7 years old. A commotion outside their room draws Jocasta to the kitchen, and Ellie follows. Jocasta introduces Ellie to her friends, and Ellie reveals that her mother died by committing suicide, something which Jocasta envies as she wants to be the center of attention. Jocasta and the girls take Ellie out to a pub, but Ellie is feeling out of her element and goes to the toilet to sit alone. She overhears Jocasta saying bad things about her, and Ellie leaves. On her way out, she witnesses a strange-looking old man smiling at her. Later that night, Ellie is awakened by Jocasta and a party that is going on in the residence. In the morning, Ellie shows up late for her first class. Her grandmother calls to check up on her, and Ellie decides to rent a room so that she can cope with her studies. She finds a place at Goodge Street, where she meets the landlady, Miss Collins, and later that day, moves in. That night, Ellie puts a record on and lies down to sleep. She dreams about being in the 60s, where she walks into a nightclub. As she looks at herself in the mirror, she sees a different woman named Sandy. Ellie and Sandy look like they are the same person, mirroring each other. Sandy is determined to become the new star of the Café de Paris, and is soon approached by Jack, a sponsor of sorts. The two of them share a dance, and Jack defends her when an old man hits on her. Jack takes Sandy away and drives her home. They set up a date for the following day, and Sandy lies down to sleep, with Ellie watching. Just as she goes to touch her, Ellie wakes up from the alarm clock. At college, Ellie draws Sandy's pink dress she'd seen in her dream, and Jocasta notices the hickey on her neck. After class, John, a fellow student, asks Ellie out, but Ellie has plans meeting with Jack in her 60s dreams that night. Jack and Sandy go on a date to the Rialto, where Jack surprises her with a programmed audition. Sandy sings, and Ellie is enthralled by her performance. Jack applauds her, and very soon books her some shows in the Rialto. Ellie awakens again, and decides to dye her hair blonde. In class, she designs the dress Sandy is wearing in her dreams. Ellie then goes to purchase an old dress, but she is low on funds, and makes up her mind to work at a pub. The same old man from before tells her that she looks familiar, but Ellie keeps her distance. That night, Ellie dreams again about the 60s and visits the Rialto. She is disappointed, however, to see that Sandy is working as a dancer rather than a singer. Ellie leaves and ends up in Sandy's dressing room, where Sandy is so frustrated she smashes the mirror with her hand. Jack comes and takes Sandy to meet a new client who wants her for a night. Sandy leaves, but she is trapped as Jack is following her everywhere. Ellie comes to her room where she sees Sandy sleeping, but she is terrified when she sees the client coming out of the bathroom. She yells at him and wakes up. It is evident that the line between reality and dreaming starts to get very thin for Ellie at this point on. In class, Ellie has a tantrum and starts ripping off the dress she is making. Later on in the pub, John comes to have a beer and talks with her. Ellie's grandmother worries about her, especially after finding out that she has moved out of the residence and works at a pub. The old man, whose name is Lindsay, hands Ellie the piece of paper on which Ellie has drawn Sandy in her pink dress. As Ellie sits alone in her room, a record starts playing on its own, and Jack enters, dragging her to the dance club. Jack tells her to dance, and Sandy dances and talks with many men, who all say to her that she has a lovely name, until a man tells her to get away while there's still time. Sandy says how can she do that, and the man tells her to look at the mirror. Sandy refuses, but Ellie screams to look at her, banging her fists at the mirror until she breaks it and hugs Sandy. Ellie wakes up in her room, but she is in a kind of trance, looking at Sandy in a ceiling mirror, and a man with many faces undressing in front of her. Ellie gets out of the room and closes the door, but when she opens it again, she sees a host of half-naked old men leering at her. Later that day, John invites Ellie to a party. Ellie dances with John until she starts to notice the strange men, as well as Sandy and Jack, looking at her. She panics and leaves the club, running in the rain. John catches up with her, and Ellie tells him that she wants to be a normal girl. She kisses him and invites him over to her room. John and Ellie start to make out when Ellie witnesses Sandy being stabbed and killed by Jack with a knife. She starts screaming and Miss Collins comes upstairs. John runs away and Ellie sees that everything is back to normal. The next day, Ellie goes to apologize to Miss Collins for bringing John. In class, Ellie suddenly sees Sandy, covered in blood, saying to her, "You know where to find me." Ellie runs away while listening to voices and seeing Jack is stalking or hunting her. She decides to go to the police to report Sandy's murder by Jack. The officers, however, don't believe her and take her for a lunatic. As she leaves the police station, one of the officers tells her to look for a last name in this Jack character. Ellie goes to the library to look for any clues about murdered and missing women in the 60s. She tells John about Sandy, and John agrees to assist her in her research. Ellie, however, is tormented by the apparitions of the strange men, and as she goes to attack one, it turns out it is Jocasta. John grabs Ellie's hand before she stabs a pair of scissors into Jocasta's eye. Ellie loses control and flees. Out on the streets, she sees Sandy and goes after her, but she is pushed back by her and passes out. She soon regains consciousness and goes to the pub she is working at. Lindsay waits for her there, and Ellie asks him about Sandy while recording him secretly. Lindsay tells Ellie that whatever happened to Sandy, she brought it on herself. Ellie presses him to admit about Sandy's murder, but Lindsay leaves and Ellie follows him outside. Lindsay stops in the middle of the road to talk to Ellie when a car hits him, and Ellie finds out that Lindsay isn't Jack, but the cop who tried to save Sandy in the past. Ellie calls her grandmother and suddenly sees John running on the streets. She goes to him and asks him to take her away from London. John agrees and they both go to pick up their things from Miss Collins' house. Ellie goes in alone to announce to Miss Collins that she's leaving, but she soon discovers that Miss Collins is actually Sandy. It is revealed here that Sandy has killed Jack that night, and also the men who came for her, burying them inside the house to keep them hidden. Ellie is terrified to hear of this and tries to do something, but Sandy has drugged her coffee. John comes in and Ellie tries to warn him, but Sandy stabs him in the belly. Ellie gets in the way and Sandy tries to kill her. A fire breaks out and Ellie locks herself in her room where she sees the many victims of Sandy calling for help. They tell Ellie to kill Sandy, but Ellie says no. As Sandy walks in, she sees the dead men and is shocked. As the police arrive, Sandy realizes that it's too late now for her and goes to slice her own throat. Ellie stops her and Sandy pushes her away, telling her to save herself and John. Sandy sits on the bed as the flames engulf her and Ellie flees. A little while later, Ellie has had her first fashion show. John and her grandmother congratulate her at the backstage. Ellie feels content as she sees her mother's spirit in the mirror, but she is startled when Sandy appears there next, waving and winking at her.